That's all right. The phone, it's Carol. The phone is on the chair right next to your mom, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
And she can hear you, Mary Jo.
Last of the generation.
Okay, and Rabbi Klein it's Carol, and Rabbi Klein is ready to begin. Okay, thank you.
I'm sitting in the back here. I know the numbers.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
can't walk
It's more
around.
yarmulkes.
No, hug everybody like I want to.
I don't have any. Are you going to say? No, he's getting. Rabbi's ready.
If I sit next to you, because I'll be 84 next week, so
Are we ready?
you're gonna hit on
We're
me.
ready.
No.
She'll come just a little closer.
Well, I'm catching up to you.
John, when they had the ribbons that we were wearing,
Some reason it's jackets.
please wear them during the morning.
If you're sick, you're sick.
I'm Carol.
If you repeat after me, please. Baruch atah Adonai.
I went to California for a moment. I came back for 100 years. I know. Yes.
Praise you. Repeat after me. We praise you, Lord.
Praise you, O Lord our
I
God,
did for a time.
sovereign of the
Yeah,
universe,
I was there for 15 years. My
righteous
husband Bob
judge.
died of brain cancer 2 weeks after
Take the
he
ribbon before the hands.
and I got a brain tumor a year later. So I said,
And I just
Start.
You had a,
pull it
you had a
up.
cerebral palsy.
Pull it up.
Cerebello
No.
Pontine. How did you know that?
Could you use the toxins and house check?
That's
Well,
perfect.
yes, Howard, of
That's,
course.
that's fine. Good.
Can I keep it on?
You're
Back
keeping
in.
your
Well,
No, no,
4.25
that is-
centimeters.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and have a seat.
Yeah,
Bigger than a golf ball.
and you came out well.
I did.
On behalf of the President of the United States, people of a grateful nation, for your husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, his service to this country. Present you with this.
Friends, we gather together this morning to celebrate the life and to honor the memory of Joseph Demsey. The family so very much appreciates your attendance here this morning. Your presence offers them a great deal of comfort and support. Adonai ma'adam v'teda ehu ben enosh v'chashvehu. O Lord, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath, our days are as a passing shadow. We come and we go like grass which in the morning shoots up renewed, in the evening it fades and it withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, return, you mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright. They shall have peace. The author of the first of the Bible's 150 Psalms tells us in succinct language that is also poignant the nature of the good life and the fruit of that life. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor taken the path of sinners, nor joined the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is their delight, and they study that teaching day and night. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, whose foliage never fades and whose fruit always flourishes. Let us take comfort now together in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Kohelet, the author of the biblical book of Ecclesiastes, reminds us that for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Joseph Demsey died this past Sunday evening, 6 months into his 97th year. He had a very difficult last many years with several surgeries and growing mental and physical exhaustion. But his well-honed and well-practiced stamina and survival skills kept him fighting until he could fight no more. And he is now at peace. Joseph was born to his parents, Charles and Minnie, and grew up with his 3 siblings, Leo, Ethel, and Delbert, all of whom have predeceased him. Throughout their lives, the 3 brothers and 1 sister were extremely close. Indeed, nothing better dramatizes this closeness than the fact that these 4 siblings always lived within 4 blocks of one another. And as Joseph's son, John, told me when I spoke with him a couple of days ago, his father would regularly over the years have 2 dinners, one at his sister Ethel's house, and then a second one with his family back home. And such was his devotion to his own parents that even after both had died, he was reluctant to leave Cleveland, because evidently that would have seemed to him like abandoning them. To Joseph Demsey, family was everything. And both of Joseph's children, John and Mary Jo, told me that their father was single-mindedly devoted to their mother Renee and to them. According to John, his father held on to life until you, Renee, had celebrated your 90th birthday, a moving testament to a relationship of more than 70 years. And both of Joseph's children acknowledged that their father cared deeply about them as well. Indeed, his children were at the very center of his life. As they were growing up, he and you, Renee, provided them with wonderful educations and took them at young ages on several trips to see and experience the world. They gave their children every opportunity to learn and to grow, and laid in front of them high standards of achievement. And achieve they did. Indeed, Joseph was very proud of both of his children. And as a fascinating illustration of his pride, Joseph kept every one of their report cards, beginning way back in elementary school. Indeed, all of this conveys the reality that Joseph was a caring, present, involved parent who himself was also full of life. As a person, Joseph had signal characteristics. He was charming and handsome, in possession of a great sense of humor, and someone who loved nothing better than a good Yiddish joke, especially as I imagine it when the joke was told over a pastrami sandwich with a pickle, and even, God help us, when the food was accompanied by schmaltz. In addition, Joseph was a natty dresser and a person of overall great style. Now, those of you who knew Joseph Demsey know that he had a strong personality. Tenacious is a word that I heard more than once during my conversation with his family. Tenacious, gritty, determined. How else could a person withstand years of debility and multiple surgeries without these characteristics? In a word, Joseph was a determined and emotional person who had strong opinions, very strong opinions. And he expressed them openly, and sometimes in ways that led to confrontations with others. Not always an easy man, Joseph Demsey was nevertheless a loving and devoted person who did his best for his family, to whom he was singularly and deeply devoted. Joseph Demsey is survived by his wife Renee, by his son John and his daughter Mary Jo, who very, very much wanted to be here today, by his son-in-law Frederick, and by his grandchildren Molly, Thomas, and Marie Helene. I hope I pronounced the last word correctly. He was predeceased by his parents, Charles and Minnie, and by his siblings, Leo, Ethel, and Delbert. Joseph Demsey lived a long and a full life. Those who loved and admired him will never forget him. Zichrono livracha, his memory will always be our blessing. Amen. Now I want to call on his son, John, who will reflect a little bit on the life, the qualities, the accomplishments of his father.
First of all, thank you all for being here for my family and in remembrance of my father. Our family was at the center of my father's world. He lived for my mother. I was incredibly proud of my sister and myself. He loved his parents. He loved his two brothers and his sister. His family was the center of his world. And I remember growing up, just a very Demsey-like trait. Whenever we would go someplace, he would drive me into the cemetery to say hello to Papa Charlie and Grandma Minnie. It was very my father. He had many friends that, quite honestly, we discovered more and more of as we went through his telephone, tried to piece back and remember all of his relationships. My father was humble, hardworking, loving, and very proud. He had a lot of stamina, grit, and an unabashedly strong point of view. I'd venture to say that all of us here had words with my father up until the final weeks of his life. My father was a fighter, and he was determined to be there. I want to thank, first of all, all the people that have been there on my mother's side and my father's side, from the visiting angels and Stacy, these past years. It's very difficult when you don't live in town with your parents, and to have the visiting angels, and you really are angels, there for my father's care and giving him a dignified and proper end of life, and being there to support my mother, who has been through a very difficult past 4 months with her own health issues. I want to thank you. Richard and Bruce, it means a lot that you came. My dad loved your father, and was very proud of the accomplishments that you have made. And Dr. Tucker, he wouldn't take an aspirin without asking you first. And he was very proud of his relationship with you, and loved you and your wife very much. And you called every day when my mother was in the hospital and my father was languishing, and it gave us great comfort. Jeannie and Jim, you were a second family to my dad, and he really loved you, appreciated you, and my dad was really good at having an opinion for everybody else. I mean, everyone tells of stories in which he told them they shouldn't have bought that car, they should have not married that person, they should not have married that business deal, they should have bought that house or another house. But that was his charm. He's the last of a generation of the Demsey family, and he lasted the longest, outliving almost everyone. Buried so many of his friends and family over these past years, and yes, he saved every single obituary from the Cleveland Jewish News. We have them. We have each and every one of them. And Sheila, what a gift you became coming into my parents' life, and with Mark, and being there for my mom, and helping my sister Mary Jo, who's very sorry she cannot be here today. She's recovering from some oral surgery, and she wanted to be here, and helping us to understand what it is to be Jewish and how to handle these things. Because for a man who was profoundly Jewish in his essential spiritual core, he wasn't very practical about it. Jeannie, you've been a light for my dad and for my mom. And the fact that you flew up here yesterday on planes, trains, and automobiles in the middle of all this to be here means the world to us. And Carol, I know you fought a lot with my dad over the years, and he had lots of opinions for you, but he admired your intelligence and your success. And the Weiss family, I know you were very important to my dad as well. So it means so much to me that you're here. Everything that I became in life is because my father and mother gave me the opportunities and the guts and the empathy to be the person that I am. So it's hard to believe that we're here right now. Please be there for my mom, because these next months will be difficult. But two last things, which are very much my father. He wanted permission to die. Actually, he lasted longer than he should have. And he waited for me and my sister to come to tell him that my mother was going to be okay and that we would take care of her. And his last words to us was, let's please get this thing over. And I don't, regardless what your political thoughts or affiliations are, in his final years of life, my father was Make America Great Again sort of guy. And he would play Fox News at 100 decibels with all the iterations of hate and conflict. And he left that TV on 24 hours a day. And I don't know, maybe it's a psychological thing or something. The night of my mom's birthday, I asked everyone to turn the TV off. That I wanted him to be able to leave this earth in peace and not listening to the aggressions of the modern day times. And as that TV set went off, and my mother passed her 90th birthday, he died at 3 o'clock in the morning on Father's Day. So my dad always had a flair for making an impression and having the last word. And my dad had the last word. And that's the way it should be, and it will always be. So thank you for being here for my family. And you know, as all my cousins called me, many were not here today, they said, we never thought your father was going to die. No one could possibly believe it. And they would say, how old is he again? Like, seriously? And he went the long mile. And what kept him alive was his dedication to my mother and his love of myself and my sister and our children. So thank you for being here. My dad was a great guy, and he cared. His bark was worse than his bite. And I knew his final days were here because he didn't want any more chicken matzo ball soup or corned beef or a pastrami sandwich. And that Jewish food was the essential core of what he loved and looked forward to. So, thank you.
Well done.
The best, the best.
The voice says, cry out, and I say, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, all its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades when the wind of the Lord blows upon it. Surely the people are grass. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God shall endure forever. Atzur tamid pa'alo ki chal derachav mishpat, el emunah ve'el abel sadik v'yasharhu. God is sure, our immovable rock. All God's work is upright. Who can say, what is it that you do? The Eternal governs what is above and what is below, overseeing both the valleys of death and the heights of life. God is sure, our immovable rock. Who can say to God, what will you do? You are righteous in your dealings in both death and life, and every soul is in your trust. We praise you, Judge of truth, who ordains death and summons us to life. Help us to feel your presence at this time, so that we may declare that God is upright, our rock, in whom there is no unrighteousness. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevarach. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. O God of life, amid the ceaseless tides of change which sweep away the generations, your love remains to comfort us and to give us hope. Around us are life and death, decay and renewal, the flowing rhythm that all things obey. Our life is a dance to a song that we cannot hear. Its melody courses through us for a little while, then it seems to cease. Whence the melody and whither does it go? In darkness as in light, we turn to you, the source of life and the answer to all of life's mysteries. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision and grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death all reveal the divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under divine protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. We conclude our service now with the recitation of the mourner's Kaddish. As you are able, and if you wish, I ask you please to rise. And we say together, Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, V'Alma Divrach Hirutei V'Yamlich Malchutei, V'Chayechon V'Yomechon V'Chayedechal Beit Yisrael, V'Agala V'Zman Kariv V'Yamru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabban Barach Le'olam Olamei Omaya, Yit Barach V'Yishtabach V'Yit Ba'ar V'Yit Roman V'Yit Naseh, V'Yit Hadar V'Yit Alei V'Yit Halal Shmei D'Kudashah B'Richu, Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata, Tushbechata V'Nechemata V'Amiran V'Alma V'Yamru Amen. Yehei Shalom Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chayim, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort all the bereaved among us, and let us say together, amen. And to the family we now say, may God console you with all who mourn, among all the families of the earth. Now go forth in peace to life, and may God go with you. Amen. This concludes our service. I'm going to ask the family, once we place the urn in the vault, I'm going to put the lid on. I'm going to ask the family first to place a shovel full of dirt on the lid, and then those who want to participate in this custom and this tradition may come forward and do it as well.
Just hold the shovel up just for a second. I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you. Got it? Okay. Why don't you do one for my sister as well? One for Thomas Friedman. Holly Friedman. And Marie Helene Demsey. Others?
Anyone else who wishes may step forward. In an envelope, so that they're all together, okay? Do you want me to get the flowers to Manor Park? Do you want the flowers to go home or you want them to go to Manor Park? I think they could go to Manor Park, right? Mom? Should we send them? Do we want to keep the flowers or should we send them to Manor Park? Manor Park. Yeah. Just put them in the limousine. Just put them in the limousine. Manor Park.
It's nice of you to remember my marriage. I can't believe I've lived this long.
Mom, did you see Shirley Morning Street? I said my mother could use those tap dancing lessons now. Don't do a shoot there.